Hey guys, we're gonna do a 500 TOA, and with it, we're gonna have no T-bow, no shadow. Here's my gear. This is what I'm wearing, but let me actually get all my stuff out from the bank. Sorry if you're cringing for my vertical switches. Okay, so for my gear, regular Bowfa stuff with a blowpipe. For my melee gear, I bring an Oathplate chest to help with the BGS, and I have a Fang and regular other melee stuff. And mage gear, I actually don't bring mage legs because it doesn't help that much with Warden, which is the only time I'm going to be actually using mage on P2. Now for invocations, yes, I have a lot of TOAs, and this is what we're dealing with. This is a crime against humanity. But what we're running is a straight 500. Now, a couple things to note. We could bump this up to a 515 very easily with Lively Larva and Ancient Haste. They don't make that big of a deal. Ancient Haste does make it so that you usually have to use, you almost always have to use 2 Kara specs. And Lively Larva does save a little bit of prayer if you don't have to use prayer at all, because there's only 3 bugs versus 5. Not a big deal. I use it exactly at 500 just to make things a little bit easier on the last tile of Wardens. Okay, but other stuff is pretty standard for 500. Hardcore, 40-minute timer. The raid is going to be between probably 35 to 37 minutes on average. Really slow is 39. I've almost never had it over 40 at my current gear and skill level. Walk the Path, Pathfinder. Dehydration, no help needed. Deadly Prayers, on a diet. All the other Kephri ones. Yes, Overlord's is on. I use a Ranger Trap. That's actually very, very easy to do and consistent. All the Zebak ones, yes, Double Trouble, no to keep back. If I was really, really confident at butterflying all the time, I could have this on, but it's more of a pain for me than anything. The times that you just miss the timing and you take a melee and you just die is just too annoying. So, and then all the Baba ones and all the rest of the Warden ones outside of Ancient Haste. Okay, so some things to note regarding the gear and some of the strategies. We're going to be using a lot of the Void Waker for specking throughout the raid. It's going to be our best spec weapon we're using all the time. We are going to be using a DDS for the core. We are using BGS on Zebak and a little bit of P1 and P3. We're actually not going to use it on P4. So the BGS actually isn't that important, but it's still nice to have. And otherwise, we're going to just be ranging throughout all the hard parts of the raid. And of course, you would definitely need a light bearer for this type of raid. Regarding what's in my chugging barrel, I have a super strength, a range pot, and an anti-venom plus to help with the monkey room, in case you actually step on venom in the monkey room, and the anti will carry out through Kephri. Okay. Also, Aether runes in the divine pouch for death charge, which is actually very, very useful, as well as thralls. Let me turn off the Huey. So this little guy actually is quite annoying They're kind of like bats in the fight caves. Whenever they damage you, they do steal a little bit of your prayer, so it's actually pretty good to deal with them. Wow, I'm getting ravaged. Try to have this volatile blow him up. Okay, so a lot of your speed for the raid is gonna be BGS reliant. If it's nice, it's a nice raid. So we're gonna take a dose of the Super Divine Thrall. Drop this, use BGS. Oh, we got lucky. So it's gonna be a fast raid. Even though that wasn't the fastest monkey rooms in my life, but that's okay. Use Death Charge in advance for the monkeys that are going to come right now. The monkeys... Oh. You can actually one-tick them. So, it's effectively free damage. Oh, that's okay. Okay, it's gonna be a little bit tight. Probably should line up my blowpipe, anguish, and quiver to make sure I can one-shot those boulders. And I'm gonna take one more dose of Prey Pot. One thing that you can do is you can pre-pot the Prey Regen potion if you need to. I was doing that for a long time until I got very comfortable flicking. And the goal of Baba and Kephri is to only use one full Prey potion. We're definitely going to need that. Moving on. Deadeye is actually enough to one-shot these boulders. And just make sure you don't mess up, because if you do, you die. Monkeys are back. Spec is back. Avoid wake her up. Nice. So I'd say that was a very, very fast Baba. And that was a little bit slow on Monkey Room, maybe by 10 seconds. But again, we have plenty of time to complete this raid. So Kephri's going to be pretty standard. The biggest tech that I do is going to be... we're going to be ranger trapping, and we are not going to be swarming. I've seen some videos of people swarming. The problem with swarming, especially with overlords, there's a lot of stuff that you have to do, and you can die, and you can kind of just mess it up. You can save probably like 45 seconds to a minute if you do it correctly, but then you also need to bring chins, so that's one less potion. And you also do still get some TOA points by just doing, just by smacking Kephri, so it's not that bad. Send my Voidwaker specs. You can actually attack 3 times with the Keris, and you get 1 extra attack in to do this. So this one tile right here is where you want to stand for the first dung line. And the second one is obviously for the second one. And if my damage is fast enough, I may not even proc the eggs, which would be kind of crazy. Yeah, they're coming here. So we're going to ignore the eggs and just start smacking this guy. The Keris is actually a bit faster DPS. Oh, and you can get lucky like that. Also, Death Charge does work. I think I missed it, though. Oh, lucky. I'm just going to attack this bug for Death Charge. Repot. And one thing that's nice is that because I have Lively Larva off, there's only, I think, 3 bugs here instead of 5 always. Yeah, so I basically don't need to pray range right now, which does save a little bit with prayer. So for the Ranger Trap that's happening, because we made these exact dung lines, this guy's going to get stuck once I stand in this blue square. Pray range on, smack him once, move to this tile, he's now stuck. I now pray melee, because this guy's going to munch on me, run to the outside of the arena here, so he doesn't attack me. Can swap to my Keris now for this guy. If you're really paranoid about dying to that guy, you can save your Voidwaker specs for him, or either on the Spitting Scarab on the first round of Overlords. But he's generally fairly inaccurate and attacks really slowly. You always want to stand to the side where you already have dung to make it clean. And right here, I'm going to attack and move in the same tick to make sure I didn't make a dung line right in the middle. Do it again. Move back. Perfect. Now I have a lot of health. I'm just going to flick Piety. Notice the Ranger is just bugged. Huh? Also, if you really need to heal, if you mess up, take a bomb or whatever, you can always use the stick. Not recommended, though, because it's a lot of prayer. You can also just egg off of, like, use the Keris to smack the eggs and heal off of them. Okay. Level 4 Kronk. So we're going to take power. I'm going to deposit my Blowpipe and my Divine. So one important thing to note, if this is a level 3 Croc specifically, I would do this now, because it means that you would be able to avoid the level 4 Croc, which is a pain in the ass. But if the Croc is level 4 or level 2, we're just going to do Akkha. It is a bit nicer with the way that the Adrenaline and Surge Pot works, because we can use a dose of each of them on Akkha for free. But the downside is that there's a fast Croc who is going to be noticeably more difficult. And it's not just that the Zebak is difficult, it's also that the attacks on P4 for Warden are 1 tick faster. And there's going to be a lot going on. So that can be something that you want to avoid. All right. So we are going to be 4 tick butterflying. It's very fun. Not really. Click my salt button, go in, make my throw. So one thing that I didn't quite explain, but I'll try to do it now, is I'm using my Bowfa on Akkha, even though I have an eye. And if you look at a lot of DPS charts, the eye is actually pretty significantly higher damage or DPS than Bowfa on Akkha. Now, the problem that you're going to run into, though, is on these guys, the shadows. On the shadows, if you try to 3-tick butterfly with an eye, you're just going to splash an unusually large amount on the shadows, and it's to such a degree that you're actually going to fail the DPS check. And whenever you fail the DPS check, whenever you fail the DPS check, he's going to swap prayers. You're actually going to lose a decent amount of DPS overall. 3, 4, 5. So because of that, and I couldn't find a way to fix my DPS on the shadow issue, I just Bowfa this guy, and it's fine. It's not revolutionary. It's obviously a lot more depressing than having a shadow, I would assume, but this is the world I know. So oh, I messed up. So I kind of banked on that hitting so I could move to the next shadow, but now he's going to be ranging, which is fine. This usually happens. It's about a 50-50 chance that I mess up sometime. Turn this off, though. Bowfa is ripping, though. And I'm going to save my adrenaline for now. I could use it and wipe through this phase, but I'm still going to use it at the end anyway, so it's fine. It's always best to save it. 1, 2. Try DPS between moving if you can. So if you ever fail the DPS check, you're going to want to go on any of these diagonal tiles. You can search up for shadow skipping, but you will have to do that a fair amount of time, because Bowfa will fail the DPS check sometimes. So, yeah. And Double Trouble will get you killed a bunch of times learning it, but once you once you master it, it's actually pretty nice. It's not that bad, but a lot of it's just not panicking and being prepared for the specs as they happen. Also with butterflying, this is a nice plugin that shows the red box of his actual hitbox. And whenever it's one away is when you want to move. So I'm going to go and swap right now to my Void Waker and dump specs. 75. I can also use my adrenaline or my surge pot liberally. Perfect. I'm going to dose melee throw. Of course, if you're less confident with this phase, you can always just save your spec for Karis. And I might do that now, actually. Alright, I can do this. Yeah, if I wasn't as confident, I could just use a Surge Pot, use my Karis, and would have been completely fine. Alright, and now, because we used the adrenaline at the end of Akkha, we're actually going to be able to use it for the beginning of Zebak. And we're probably going to need it, knowing my BGS. Zebak, especially level 5, is quite depressing if you are Bowfing and you hit 0 of your BGS specs, so... Gonna swap to this real quick. I can get 2 shots for free walking in. Swap to BGS. Okay, we'll try again. Okay, we'll try again. You want to make sure you stand 2 tiles away. And run back so you don't get meleeed. And the other thing that's important to know about Zebak is that at all levels, you can pray against the blood attack between each of these main attacks. The only time that you won't be able to is at the very end for level 4, level 5 Zebak on Enrage phase. You won't be able to actually pray against the blood attacks if there's a range attack on you during the enrage. And always take your time on the jugs, because if you mess up, you usually die. Like how everything else in this raid works, if you mess up, you usually just die. I'm gonna resalt. Another small tip is it's nice to resalt when your stats drop to 14. 14 or 59. That way you don't end up with your stats going down right after you salted. Sometimes it gives you a max hit. It's really not that important, but every small thing matters. It can also be handy to know how to wave skip, but you always have enough time to do it regularly. But sometimes if it's like super far away between them, I just won't attack between moving, but yeah, not too bad. So moving into Warden, ideally you're going to want 6 prey pots. So I'm going to be well over that amount for this. Maybe not well over. It'll be fine. I think if you're below 5, you might need to be flicking real hard. But and if you're ever running really low, there's always moments where you can choose to use less prior. Like, you can just not use offensive priors on P3. Or really P2 for Warden. That's completely fine. Okay, so it's gonna be super far. When it's really close to him, you don't want to just oh. Yeah, you don't want to get meleeed, is what I'm trying to say. So if it's the first line, you may need to step all the way over there, or go really quickly to this tile and then move back. Okay, I'm actually going to... Okay, I'm not going to go way bigger. So I couldn't pray against this attack right now, but that's okay, because I have a lot of health. But if I had less health, probably want to use Karis. Also, be careful about getting smote here if you have deadly prayers on, because you can't pray against the blood attacks, so you want at least 10 prayer. Can't pray against that one. Alright, we're gonna just speed this up right here. Walk back. Technically, you can probably use your adrenaline there as well at the end, but yeah, that's fine. Okay, here, there are certain things that you must do right now so you don't die. Firstly, we're going to be Void Waker specking 3 times and then with the BGS. First thing, Salt again, so we don't forget. Second thing, Adrenaline. Third thing, Piety, Rapid Heal. Thrall, Begin, Spec 1, Spec 2, use Surge, Spec 3 times, BGS hit, so we have 25 left. We're going to leave at 75. 75. If you leave below 75, you can Karis after the first attack, and you're probably fine, but you're going to be a little bit depressed. So try not to do that. Because the goal is we're at 76, we turn this off, and we're going to be left at 1 HP for us to Karis spec. Now the reason why I didn't just start with the BGS is because, especially if you have Ancient Haste on, if you just miss your BGS specs, you might get hit with 3 sets. And if you get hit by 3 sets, you just lose. So this kind of is a more consistent way to deal with it. Karis. Now be sure here, be careful not to click over here after this or during this microwave attack, because you don't want to walk into the microwave, so just be careful there. I've died a couple times that way. We're going to swap to our range here and then to our mage here to help with some of the inventory. I'll just line up better this way. I'm also going to take off my pants to cool things off. It also gives me 1 max hit. So this is where, if I had my Virtus legs, I think I would get like 3 or 4 max hits, which is nice, but I'm only using this for P2. And I'd rather just have another Prey Pot than save, like, maybe at most 10 seconds. And also what I'm going to do is right before we go into the core here, I'm going to use my Keris. I'm going to top it off. Top it off. Okay, swap to my melee gear. 6 attacks. I'm actually use one of these. 3, 4, 5. Smack him. So Death Charge actually does work for the first and second core attacks. I couldn't tell you why. It doesn't work on the third one, which is the one that you would think it would make sense to do. Oh. So you got de-leashed. All this means is this tile is less safe, and the core is not going to spit on the exact tile that I usually remember, so I just need to be more careful here. Okay. We're still good. Adrenaline, 5, 6, 7, 8. And my goal here is to use my Keris right before we go into core. Obviously, if I have to use it earlier, that's fine. I think you can hit like a 13, so it's a lot of keeping your nerves. Nice. Okay. I'm actually going to use 1 DDS spec because I have 62 spec, which is kind of awkward. That's fine. Okay. This is a great amount of prayer left. So we are going to be super comfy. We have a minute to use our specs here as well. I'm going to use my Surge. And try to hit 30 damage with the BGS. If it doesn't forsake me right now. Right now? Okay, perfect. Move my inventory. When I get a chance, we are going to be skull skipping. We're at 28 minutes, which is actually quite good. So once my spec hits 50 here, I am going to send a couple of Void Wakers. And one thing that's I want to say it's important or imperative, but it's nice, is that I'm going to use my Void Waker specs at the end. So it's good to get good at your melee swaps, because a lot of your damage and making it through the last row of Wardens with the Bowfa is not missing any ticks, not taking too much damage, and utilizing the Void Waker to deal a bunch of damage for free. Okay. So this is the way that I skull skip. I stand on this tile usually, and I try to react as well, but what you always want to do is, and you'll get better at the timing, you want to run through it. Even if you mess up, like if you mess up the line that you're on, you'll always run through the wave if you do the right timing. So it actually helps not burn out your your mental too bad, especially at the beginning, because this is a long fight. I'm gonna re-salt. Okay, so for here, we're gonna wait until he shows his attack. It's mage, and now I click on the skulls. The attack pattern is a little wonky because you're 4 tick and he's attacking with 3 tick, so sometimes you have to skip. That's fine. So I'm going to move my Keris up to the top row just to make it a bit more accessible. However, you want to manage your inventory. Do it now before things get too crazy, because you're going to need to have quick access to the Keris. And trust me, when you're doing dehydration runs, especially high Invo, you're going to die like 10 times just trying to learn how to use the Keris. That's just normal. This raid is just suffering. Okay, so almost 40. Phase. In a second. Okay. So for here, we're going to wait until this guy throws 1 rock. Change my prayers. Click now. It's more important than anything else to commit to the skull skip than rather to try and flick a prayer that you're not sure if you have time or not, because in one way you just die if you mess up. The other way is you take damage, which, like in this case, you have time to Keris and it's not the end of the world. Or if you really want to keep your spec, you can always just revert to doing skulls normally with attacking with the Keris to heal up. So my surge pod is up in 25 seconds, so we're doing great on time. Sometimes, if I'm doing it too fast, you may actually want to wait a little bit, but that's only happened like twice. So for this next one, Monkey's gonna throw 2 boulders, and then we commit to the skull skip. Okay. 1 boulder. Change prayer. Move. Yeah. Rethrall. Play skip. So right about now, after you've gotten into the groove of things and you're starting to sweat, do all your health checks. Go to the doctor, sip a pray pot. Around 10%, I'm just going to use my adrenaline early, because you don't want to forget to do that. Sometimes you forget to do that, and then you're looking real silly. So we're going to take that. Thrall check. The thrall is good. Don't mind the order of my switches. I'm going to swap to that early. Okay. Heidi. Four. 5. I missed a prayer, but that's okay. It was kind of humble. A trick with doing last tile skull skipping, or not skull skipping, Warden here, is it's all about stepping on the tiles that just have electric on them. Also, not smiting yourself. So And if you ever have to use Karis here, which I'm assuming we will have to do, I'll say the final notes here in a second. But we'll use the... Oh, we won't use the Karis. A couple notes, or what I was trying to say, is that you can only Karis once your spec hits 40%. So I dump 5 Void Waker specs because I'm pretty confident that I can make it to 40%. Sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking to get there, but you're really trying to get to 40%, then you can use your Karis, and hopefully you can make it out that way. If you're less confident, you don't have to use this at all, but you're going to be last rowing for longer. So you make that trade-off. And then lastly, oh yeah, I guess you could just use less specs too. You can just use 3 Void Waker specs. Now, if you're using, mainly trying to go for your first your first Fang kit, you can try to use the BGS. Now, the problem again is sometimes if you're BGS noodles, then you just kind of lose. Like, you've spent all this time to lower the defense and you've hit 0 damage, and now you're gonna noodle and now you just lose. So I find the Void Waker for both P1 and P4 just way more consistent. It's just really good. And if you can get your melee swaps relatively fast, it's really good. Yeah. So all right, let's see the white chest over here. Yeah. Okay. So we ended the raid with an 8.3% purple. If that's correct, I don't believe that at all, but that's the world we live in. And actually, not too bad. I drop all these to inflate my numbers in the collection log. And that's, yeah, it's a great chest. Anyways, that was a 500 clear. I would say that's, again, pretty consistent. And I've tried the 515. I find the 500 is the best if you can do it. And I think this is probably the best way to grind your shadow if you have average luck. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions regarding the gear or TOA. Happy to improve my process because you need to have some kind of brain interaction with the raid to not go crazy. Okay, thanks.